All right, everybody. Welcome to another Beyond Baseball Shorts here. We are. This is the podcast where we're just trying to bring you some human side of the game and a peek behind the curtains of different processes that go into playing professional baseball. And I'm lucky enough to be joined by Ben Kudrna, the Kansas City Royals right-handed pitcher who was taken in the 2021 draft. Ben, how you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
Good, good. Appreciate you taking some time to chat. One thing that you have just recently gone through in the last couple of years was the MLB draft. And I think this episode, we want to take a little bit, peel back the curtain to give people a look into what the MLB draft process is like. Now you've had a little bit of time in professional baseball under your belt, but kind of take us into the draft process and draft day. What was that experience like for you? And what were some of the ups and downs of that draft process?
It's definitely a crazy process to say the least.
Yeah.
It kind of starts the year before when you're doing all your Zoom calls and your Zoom meetings. So it's kind of a buildup, but then that kind of 2 weeks before and then the week before, it's a crazy time. But it's super exciting. It's definitely one of the most exciting and fun periods I've had in my life. But there's a lot of ups and downs. Everybody has their number. Everybody wants to get drafted.
Mhm.
Whether college guy, high school guy. And so, there's times you're going to hear that, teams pass on you, teams don't want you. You'll hear that, there are teams that do. So, mentally it's it's a tug back and forth between, sometimes you're thinking, am I good enough? Is this really the right process? For me, my polls were, maybe college is the answer. Like, do I still want to go through with this? But I think, at the end of it, it's just trusting yourself and trusting in the plan that you kind of made. I was fortunate enough. My parents are very good, and they helped lay a good foundation, a good plan with my agent, so that we were prepared and we were ready, and we kind of knew what we were going into, and everything was kind of laid out. So I think that helped a bit, but it was exciting. There were days that you're down because you hear a couple teams pass on you, but then the next day you're right back up because this team's interested and they like you. So it's definitely a up and down roller coaster ride, but it was fun.
Yeah, I remember I worked at the University of Nevada in baseball operations, and when we had guys that were getting ready for the draft, their mindset was like, "Well, are we going to get picked?" Especially a lot of those guys were going later in the draft, so you get to like day 3, day 4 at the time when it was like 50 picks or something like that. Guys were going a little bit antsy, but what kind of went into your mindset when you were trying to figure out whether to go to college or go to the pros? Who was your kind of biggest mentor during that process, too?
It's definitely my dad. Just from
Yeah.
a mentor side, he's really good at staying down to earth and being honest, and he won't sugarcoat anything, and he gave everything to me straight. So he said, here's our plan. Here's your number. This is what you have in mind, and then here's the hard facts. You college, you get a degree, you get 3 more years, you mature. But then on the flip side, if you get your number, you get right into pro ball. You can start developing. You get under professional development. So he laid everything out. And that was, kind of my biggest help. Day by day was just, understanding that we did have a plan and we wanted to stick to that. And I was comfortable with it. Every guy's different and every guy kind of attacks the process a different way. But I think the biggest thing for me was knowing that I had two great options. And then when the time comes, and my agent said this a lot, and my dad was just, you can't look back and you can't have any regrets. If you go into pro ball and you regret not going to college, you're going to sink. And if you go to college and regret not going to pro ball, then you're going to sink as well. So you got to trust with your decision, be happy with your decision, and then, just work as hard as you can.
Yeah, it's kind of like that concept of like being where your feet are. You decide whatever route you're going to take, and then you just got to live with that and kind of hope for the best and kind of go and push forward. What would you say? Would you say that the decision was helped a little bit by being taken by your hometown team as well?
I think it did. Yeah,
Yeah.
it relieved some nerves. It was definitely cool. It helped the experience. It was just that much better. But I would have been happy anywhere. But just that it was the Royals, my hometown team, the team I grew
Yeah.
up watching. It was nothing short of special.
Yeah. I think the other thing we kind of touch on Beyond Baseball too is kind of the value of relationships and kind of helping people through different kind of transitions in life. How was it having guys like Frank Mozzicato and Carter Jensen, who are both other high school kids, one from your area and your hometown and some kind of the same area? But what was it having those two guys with you and the importance of having those relationships as you all kind of made that transition from high school to pro ball?
It was a blessing in disguise, and I don't think
Yeah.
we realized it right away. But now, I live with Shane and Frank, and then Carter's right next door. But just us four having all of us together has been big, just because we're all in the same boat. Everybody, us four are all going through the same things. We're experiencing the same things and different things, but we've all got each other to come back to at the end of the day and kind of just bounce off each other and help each other out. So day by day, we realize how special of an opportunity it is to have, all four of us high school kids, at the same level, going through the same things,
Yeah.
playing with and for each other, always competing against each other. Just small things like that. It's been incredible.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just super helpful to kind of have someone there. You're like, okay, this guy's going through the same situation as I am every single day. So, I guess the another question that comes to mind too is that you made that debut in Low A Columbia this year. Kind of, what was that experience like? Because you can go through extended spring training and all the different things where you're just kind of pitching out at the Arizona complex in the heat. But what was it like to actually kind of step on that first professional baseball field? Even though it's not the big leagues, but it's still that moment where you're just like, okay, this is pro ball.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like the big leagues. The
Yeah,
nerves and the adrenaline with it. It had that feeling to it. Especially our first summer with the draft being pushed back a month. We were in Arizona all year and had our build up to playing instructs, and then obviously we had this year's spring training extended. So when we finally got out there, you gear it up. You're in a big stadium. You got fans finally. It all kind of comes down. My family was there, and then obviously having all the guys there. It's super special. It's cool just to see guys surrounded by you that you played in with spring training, and then you're finally getting to play with again. So it was awesome. I had a big smile on my face. I was nervous and wanted to play well, but I couldn't help but smile and just be happy because it's what we've been waiting for. And obviously moving up, you just kind of hope for the next in high A, double A, triple A, and then obviously the big leagues.
yeah, and that's awesome. And as you made that kind of transition to low A, has there been a specific player that's kind of been at the upper levels or coach on the coaching staff that's kind of really you've glommed onto as a mentor, has really helped you kind of transition to professional baseball?
Oh, there's been a lot of guys, and I think a lot of those relationships grew in spring training. One of our big things was we did it was called morning coffee. We did every day
That's
with guys
cool.
like Michael Massey, Vinny Pasquantino, John Rave, a bunch of those guys, Jacob Means. They were all there. So a lot of those older guys we've reached out to this season, just checked in with, seeing how they're doing, bouncing just hey, here's what I'm experiencing. What you guys go through? How'd you manage this? And then the coaching staff as a whole, whether it's hitting coach, catching coach, our pitching coach, hey, like everybody in our locker room and our staff has been incredible, just with helping us, sitting us down, walking us through things, kind of just filling us in on how to manage the ups and downs of the minor leagues and low A and outing to outing, day by day. So just the organization as a whole has been super helpful. They've backed us. They've helped us out in any way we needed, and it's been great for all of us.
Yeah, and that's awesome to hear. And kind of as you progress through the rest of this season and kind of start looking towards goals in the offseason in 2023, what would be some of your goals, not just on the field, but off the field as you kind of develop as a person outside of the game as well?
Yeah, I think off the field, the biggest thing for me is just finding things I love to do besides baseball, because you play so many games and you're at the field every day and you do so much baseball in the time period of the season that when you get away from the field and you get time to get away, I think it's important that you do spend it doing other things you like and not just sitting there thinking baseball, 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 because it's
Yeah.
like a full season. It's mentally and physically it tolls on you as the season goes on. And it's a good thing in some points. It's you got to experience that. But I think the off season is a great opportunity to kind of relax a little bit, get back into things you like, clear your mind. Whether you had a good season, a bad season, good outing, bad outing, whatever it is. I think it's important just kind of sink back and find things you like to do, and kind of take your mind away from baseball before you get right back into it come spring training.
Yeah, I think that's huge because a lot of the guys that we've interviewed in the past, like Tyson Ross and things like that, they said a lot of it, what it boiled down to is they lost their identity within the game. So like they were bringing home their bad performances and their good performances and not having those little outlets. So it's good to see that you're already kind of recognizing that early and kind of developing those tools and resources to help you find that. I think as we wrap up here, the one last question I have just for any players is kind of what advice would you have for future draft class guys that are coming from high school to the pros, or just any of the 2022 draft guys as they kind of set their way into the season here?
I think my biggest thing is first and foremost, just enjoy it, every second of it. Obviously this is only my first full year, and just, kind of half full year, but even winding down, we're in our last 2 weeks of the season. We're on the road, then we're home. But me and some of the guys were talking about last night about how, like, this year's already flown by. Like, it's crazy how we were so excited for this season. We played it up so much last off season, and now that we're at the end of it, we're like, oh crap, like this is already, like, our season one's over with. And so I think just not taking any day for granted is something I've come to learn, and especially, like start days and bullpens and all the small things matter. So just don't take anything for granted, work as hard as you can every day, because, by the end of the season, it's over and you're on to the next year and then the next and the next. And, this game is such a short period of your life. And obviously I'm just getting into it, but it's, it's such a short time period that you don't really have time to waste. So just enjoy it, have fun. It is a blast. Getting to play baseball for a living, you can never complain. So enjoying that every day. And then, just not taking anything for granted, and getting your work in every day is kind of how I view every day and attack every day.
Yeah, and I think you hit it on the head. I think Kobe Bryant talked about how everybody wants to take that quantum leap, but sometimes you just got to go step by step, be where your feet are, and kind of live it day by day. But Ben, I can't thank you enough for taking some time to join us on Beyond Baseball. Yeah, we wish you the best as you kind of finish the rest of the season and go into 2023.
Awesome. I appreciate you having me. It was a pleasure coming on and getting to talk.